Well, you weren't done yet. This chat doesn't end yet, does it?
No, sir.
Of course the text doesn't end. Tell us some
Let's
more.
skip to 2543. You were asked the question, quote, did you communicate with First Assistant DA Beeland that you did not know and had no relationship with the Albert and McCabe families? And you answered, quote, to the best of my recollection, the same conversation took place with everyone I talked to about this, because it's the same answer. It's the facts that I shared with everyone. Question, meaning you told First Assistant Beeland that you didn't know, didn't have a relationships with
Objection, Your Honor.
members of the Albert and McCabe families. Answer, correct.
Yes, that's true.
So your question is whether he said this?
Correct. Whether that's his testimony. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that's your testimony that you, in fact, told members of the DA's office that you did not know and did not have a relationship with the Alberts or McCabe's. Is that right?
I did not know the McCabe's. I don't know most of the Alberts, and I have little to no relationship with Chris and Julie. So that's what I
It's
meant
not
by
the
that
same
answer.
Well, the
thing.
question wasn't, did you know most of the Alberts? The question was, did you have a relationship with, or did you know the Alberts? And your answer was no.
No, I don't have a relationship with the Alberts.
Or know them.
I don't know the McCabe's. I don't have a
That's not the
relationship
same
with the
thing.
Alberts.
And that's just not true, is it? You did know, you do know members of the Albert family. Isn't that right?
It's different from having a relationship with people.
That
What
wasn't
about
the
part of
question.
Did not have relationships or know members of the Albert or McCabe families. How about that part of the question?
Well, that's lumped in with the McCabe's. I don't know the McCabe family, sir.
I see. So what you did, Trooper Proctor, is you dissected the sentence, and where relationships are concerned, you ignored that in terms of the Alberts because you don't have relationships. Where no is concerned, you link that to the McCabe's because you don't know the McCabe's. That's what you did?
No.
You stand by that testimony?
Yes.
That you don't know the McCabe, at the time that you testified, that you didn't know the Alberts or any members of the Albert family?
They don't have relationships with them.
Okay. My question is, you keep going back to relationships. I'm asking you, did you testify that you didn't know them?
I knew Chris, Julie, and Colin.
So if you were to say, I don't know any members of the Albert family, that would have been a lie, correct? As a matter of fact, you were on or around January 29th, 2022, you were close enough friends with Julie Albert that she had your personal cell phone in her cell phone, correct? And vice versa.
I wouldn't classify us as close friends at all.
Did you have her cell phone in your phone and did she have yours?
I can't recall if I believe I had her stored in my phone.
The number ending in 5374, you recognize that as being from Julie Albert?
Based off the content of the message, yeah, I recognize this text message from Julie.
And she texts, this is the weekend I've been waiting for. Michael, please send ski videos if CP doesn't share with me, with a laughing face, correct?
Correct.
That text was sent on February 24th, 2022, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was less than a month after Mr. O'Keefe's death, isn't that right?
Correct.
And less than a month after you had been assigned to the investigation in which Julie Albert was a witness, correct?
Correct.
And her husband, Chris Albert, was a witness, correct?
Correct.
And her son, you knew, Colin, was involved as well, correct?
Yes.
Who is CP in that text message?
It's a nickname I have for my sister.
Courtney Proctor, correct?
Correct.
Trooper Proctor, on January 19th, 2022, 10 days before Mr. O'Keefe's death, you were texting with your sister about whether Julie Albert might be available to babysit for your own son, correct?
Yes.
So in fact, your relationship with the Alberts was close enough that you would consider leaving your own child in the hands of Julie Albert as a babysitter, as a caregiver for your toddler, correct?
I wouldn't say close enough.
What?
I've hired babysitters that I've had out, but I don't know.
What?
But Julie Albert was among them.
Yes, she was an option to watch my child.
And then you personally interviewed Julie Albert and Chris Albert in this case on February 10th, 2022. And you didn't mention a thing about your relationship with Julie Albert, Chris Albert, or Colin Albert in any report that you ever drafted in this case, did you?
I did not.
Not one word, correct?
No, sir.
They babysat his kids, but he doesn't know them. Well, one of two things is true. Either one, he's not necessarily the greatest father because apparently he lets strangers watch his kids, or two, he's lying. Although I think both are possible, I'm going to go with two on this one.
You interviewed Julie and Chris Albert at about 5:30 p.m. on the 10th of February, isn't that right?
Yes.
Did either of them, Julie or Chris Albert, mention that their son Colin Albert had been at 34 Fairview Road on the night in question, January 29th?
I feel like Michael Proctor's hurting my soul at this point a little bit. I'm oscillating between various states of amusement, bemusement, confusion.
You wrote a report
Despair.
on October 12th. You received a phone call by 6:17 from Julie Albert herself, correct?
I don't have the call detail record in front of me, but okay. Yes.
You received after your interview, you received a phone call from Julie Albert about 6:17, about 45 minutes after you began the interview and then left, correct?
Yes.
6:21, you called her back and you spoke for 3 minutes and 58 seconds. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you discuss the interview?
I don't recall the content of that conversation.
And of course, you never memorialized that in any report, did you? The fact that you had a subsequent phone call with Julie Albert on your personal cell phone.
I did not.
Trooper Proctor, after your interview with Julie Albert, your sister, Courtney, texted you, "How did it go at Julie's? She was so nervous." You recall that?
Yes.
In fact, you responded to that with a ha, 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 ha. 4 ha's, right? And then why, question mark, correct?
Correct.
Then you responded, "It was fine, just a quick convo," correct?
Yes.
You were literally reporting back to your sister about the progress of your investigation in a homicide investigation, weren't you?
In response to my sister indicating Julie was nervous, that's why I told her it was fine.
Trooper Proctor, Julie and Chris Albert were not actually treated like witnesses in a murder investigation. They were treated more like friends. Wouldn't you agree?
Objection.
Is that true?
Absolutely not.
We've established that you're very close with your sister, Courtney, correct?
Correct.
You provided your sister with updates on important advancements during the course of your investigation into this case. Did you not periodically?
I made her aware of newsworthy stuff.
That started as early as January 29th, 2022. Isn't that right?
Don't have the exact date or content.
Well, the day of the incident, you began letting her know that you were involved, that you had been assigned, what the status was,
Yes.
the nature of the case.
Correct.
That it was a homicide, correct?
Yes.
Matter of fact, you discussed who the players were, who the people were that were involved. Isn't that right?
I just mentioned Julie and Chris were out earlier in the evening.
So you mentioned the Alberts, correct?
Julie and Chris, yes.
You also mentioned the McCabe's too, didn't you? At some point.
Yes.
Yeah. You were describing to your sister the nature of the case that you are now assigned. Is that right?
Correct.
She wrote, "The Canton thing is a homicide." And you wrote, "Don't say a word to anyone," correct?
Correct.
And then she wrote, "Of course not." Isn't that right?
Yes.
Then on February 1st, 2022, your sister texts you that she's actually meeting with Julie Albert, didn't she?
Yes.
And that was before you ever interviewed Julie, correct?
Yes.
So it appears that Courtney was providing information to Julie of some sort before you were able to actually interview her. Is that right? Then before you ever interviewed Julie, your sister informed you that Julie actually wanted to get you a gift for your participation on this case, correct?
Yes.
You see the text from you, "What's up?"
Yes.
And what's Courtney Proctor's response?
Nothing. I just saw Julie, and she said when this is all over, she wants to get you a thank you gift. And I respond with, "Get Elizabeth one."
You were asked about this on direct examination by Mr. Lowell, right?
Correct.
And you looked at the jurors, paused, and said, "I never asked for a gift. I never received a gift. Elizabeth never asked for a gift. She never received a gift. You remember that?
Correct.
You said you never asked for a gift, correct?
Correct.
What's your next text?
Get Elizabeth one.
What?
Get Elizabeth one what?
Referring to a gift.
What?
Right. So you did, in fact, ask for a gift, didn't you?
For my wife who had been home with my children for the last 10 nights.
From Julie Albert
Yes.
for your
What?
participation on this case.
I don't know if that's, yes.
Well,
What?
Courtney Proctor answers that question by saying, because I guess her and Chris were friends and John, and she's so proud of you for leading this investigation, correct?
Correct.
During the course of your investigation, did you become aware that there were 67 calls between Julie Albert and your sister, Courtney, in the months following
67
death?
Objection.
67 calls is a lot of calls for someone we don't know. We're soliciting gifts for our wife now from one of the Alberts who could potentially be involved in this case, the people that we said we didn't know. We don't know any of the Alberts, remember? But we apparently know them well enough to solicit a gift from them to our wife. Which could be viewed as a bribe. Holy shit.